Hello and welcome to Washington in Focus Daily. I'm your host, Christian Russell, in for Carlene Johnson, who's off today. And today we're going to talk about Tyson Foods looking to sell its Pasco facility, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson at odds with Democrats in her own city, plus the latest developments, or lack thereof, with the Sound Transit system. But first, Tyson Foods is shopping its Pasco-area beef plant, the largest beef processing facility in the Pacific Northwest. The company announced on August 13th that it will end operations at its beef facility in Joslin, Illinois, and its case-ready facility in Eagle Mountain, Utah, while pursuing a sale of the Pasco plant. Tyson blamed one of the worst cattle shortages in American history and said it will anchor its beef business around 3 plants in Nebraska, Kansas, and Texas. The Pasco facility has been under Tyson's ownership since 2001 and handles roughly 2,000 heads a day. It processes most of the fed cattle in the Northwest. Jack Field, the executive director of the Washington Cattle Feeders Association, spoke with the Center Square's Carlene Johnson on what this means for the cattle industry in Washington state.
That sent immediate shockwaves through the market. We saw the feeder cattle futures lose, I believe, close to 10, almost $11 on the announcement. Fed cattle markets took a pretty steep nosedive. And that's all, I think, a very sharp response to the news that the plant here in Pasco was being placed for sale. The good news is it's simply being placed for sale and has not been closed. So everything is normal in terms of the production, the cattle going in, the beef products coming out, all of the employees being able to go to work, receive that paycheck, and all the support industries throughout the Columbia Basin that keep that plant operable and us able to produce that high quality beef around the clock and around the calendar. As we look forward, I think there's a lot of questions trying to figure out who a potential buyer might be. I think everybody in the cattle industry and community is just hoping, whoever that is, that announcement is made sooner rather than later, because granted, we've only been about a week into it, but the last thing we need is speculation in the marketplace. Our market needs certainty, and that certainty will hopefully come with an announcement of a buyer and a path forward, so all of the suppliers and entities that help make that plant operate can look into their future and know that there is certainty.
USDA data shows Washington ranks dead last in the nation for farm profitability, with producers losing close to $400 million in 2024, and the legislature adjourned this year without passing the one bill written to help them. The Save Family Farming Act has spent the past year warning about new state paperwork mandates aimed at farms that carry fines and litigation exposure for minor errors. Field also echoes these concerns as he expresses frustration over the state's regulatory burden and high taxes.
I think it's obvious as we take a look at our regulatory structure and where, we're the only state. I don't believe Utah has a B&O tax. I think we have a higher minimum wage. So when I refer to Utah, that's the location of the Hiram, Utah JBS plant. That would be the next closest fed cattle facility for producers here in the Pacific Northwest, which is roughly 8.5 hours away on a truck. So we've got a variety of things that our food processing industry has had to face, and we've seen the ripple as you look across central Washington, the Del Monte plant closing, the impacts that had. There's a variety of other food processors that have faced challenges and the inability to remain profitable. You would hope that Olympia would see this and say, we need to fix this, but I honestly don't know what one thing Olympia could do that would, quote, fix it to ensure the long-term viability of food processing here in the state. Certainly the tax issues are mounting, but our cost of production is extremely high when we look across the border to Idaho. And I know in Olympia, that's the last thing the legislature wants to hear is, well, Idaho, 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 but it is very challenging when we look and we see the economic and regulatory layers and how they differ from Washington state to some of our neighboring states.
As stated, the Tyson plant is looking to sell, not shut down completely, and this is something that gives a glimmer of hope for those in the beef industry in Washington. And now, shifting gears here, we're going to a different kind of beef. Seattle City Councilmember Bob Kettle continues to take shots at Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson. Bob Kettle is Seattle City Council's Public Safety Committee chairperson. And Kettle says he doesn't believe Mayor Katie Wilson is adequately addressing the issue of prostitution on North Aurora Avenue and the gun violence that has emerged between rival gangs. Kettle has accused Wilson of lacking a public safety plan to address crime and continues to cite North Aurora Avenue in North Seattle as an example of Mayor Wilson's inaction.
I don't really have a lot of confidence because we have the tools, we have the abilities, but so often, as we see in Seattle, we don't take that next step. We don't follow through, and that's my concern. And so, for me to expound on a lot of confidence that yes, we're going to solve North Aurora when the history is such, I think that would be foolish for me to do so. And so, I do have those concerns. I do think we have the ability, and this is like for every action, there's a reaction. We have to have a plan. We have to adapt. So we can butt up blocks. That stock can butt up blocks, but next thing you know, we have activity on the other side of the street. I mean, so we have to anticipate that. So we have to go for the root causes. We have to look at what we can do. We have to partner with the county and the state. If the state had passed House Bill 1265, we could probably take greater action. There's two areas in that I focus on. One is the men, the demand signal, the men, whether the Johns or the pimps. But secondly is the minors. You know, that House Bill 1265 could have helped, you know, and in other areas we could help in other, you know, the challenges that we face. And so we have to have this, again, comprehensive approach that is focused on solving it and then really tackling the issues.
Kettle has stepped up criticisms of Mayor Katie Wilson in the wake of the Bida Seattle shooting. The July 26 shooting left 3 dead and 4 others injured. He has attacked the mayor for putting a surveillance camera program on hold, for delaying a press conference for hours to inform the public about the food festival shooting, and asking for former police chief Sean Barnes to resign. Aurora Avenue is also just one of his concerns because he said residents keep on complaining about continuing prostitution, which creates the potential for continued gun violence. Wilson claims public safety is a key issue for her administration. Wilson was asked about Kettle's lack of confidence in her and, in his words, her inaction when it comes to combating serious crime.
Public safety in all of its forms is extremely important, and traffic safety is one piece of that. Gun violence is a piece of that. Just the experience of walking outside in your neighborhood and what that feels like, or getting on the bus and riding transit, whether that feels safe, right? All of this is part of public safety, and to make improvements is a multidimensional effort, right? That involves lots of different partners, and we are working on that very hard every day, and welcome the collaboration of everyone here.
It is not only Councilman Kettle who's blaming Mayor Wilson. Several recent polls have showed the mayor's approval rating dropping significantly. The Change Seattle poll finds Wilson's job approval is underwater, with approval at 22%, disapproval at 66%, and 12% of responders being unsure, as well as a majority saying she should be removed from office, with 60% saying Wilson should resign or be removed, 29% say she should remain in office, and 11% being unsure. Perhaps the most damaging to Wilson is the splintering of support from her base. According to the Seattle Metro Chamber poll, progressives' favorability of Wilson is down 17 points. Meanwhile, amongst liberal Democrats, her favorability is down 22 points. Wilson is also facing a recall effort as 2 Seattle residents filed the paperwork to start the proceedings to have Wilson removed from office by vote. They cite the violence on Aurora Avenue and the response to the Bida Seattle shooting in their petition. After just 4 months on the job, it seems Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson is staring down the face of a real challenge. Now, moving on to Sound Transit. It will be at least 9 more years before Sound Transit launches light rail service in West Seattle. Sound Transit has pushed back the expected launch date for its West Seattle Link Extension light rail line by 3 years, from 2032 to 2035. Back in 2016, when voters approved a $53 billion bond, the line was promised to be running by 2030. A revised transit plan in 2021 pushed the line back to 2032. That date held firm as the Sound Transit Board approved a new plan in May to address a $35 billion budget shortfall. While a planned line to Ballard was put on hold at the meeting, Officials said the West Seattle link was alive and would open in 2032, though the line was reduced from 4 stations to 3 to save money. But now that seems to be up in the air. Acting Chief Capital Delivery Officer Brad Owen spoke at a Sound Transit Board meeting, and here's what he had to say.
With that in mind, today's update does include a revised revenue service date of 2035 for the West Seattle Link extension. This is difficult news to share, but the schedule delay has been an unfortunate consequence as staff has worked to identify an affordable path forward for the project, and as the board and the agency focused on addressing a nearly $35 billion gap in our long-range finance plan through the Enterprise Initiative. As the board worked through the Enterprise Initiative to solve this gap, the West Seattle project was unable to fully advance its final design and right-of-way phases until there was an updated and affordable ST3 system plan, which was adopted in May.
The full board is scheduled to vote on this measure on August 27th. Still, transit advocates are crying foul about the delay. One advocate, Trevor Reed, questioned why the revised 2035 date for the West Seattle line was disclosed only after the May board vote. He noted on Blue Sky, given the underlying schedule realities. Quote, the 2032 date being a fiction was knowable from publicly available materials. It is not credible. This was unknown internally. Why was it not disclosed before the May vote? In an email to the Center Square, a Sound Transit spokeswoman did echo Owens' timeline of a 3-year delay, but did not offer any explanation as to why that wasn't revealed in May. And now for today, that's it. This has been Washington in Focus, and I've been your host, Christian Russell. Really appreciate if you like and subscribe. Please check out the Washington homepage at the Center Square for stories like these and so much more. And tomorrow, Carlene Johnson will be back. So everybody, I know we're all happy about that. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow.